actually, it hit me like a coincidence. The first trip was like more a touristic one. And then I wanted to plan a tour with a friend who I had been on the tourist tour. And then life changes. And 3 weeks before we would go on the real tour, she could not go. She was the tour leader. And we had to find somebody. And it could not just be somebody. It had to be like a really good clown who could come with me for 2 weeks in 3 weeks. So I thought of this Tony. And he said, you know, in 5 years, I did not have 2 weeks, 3 days in a row. I have exactly these 2 weeks. I have no appointments, no nothing. I guess that means I go with you. So we went there. That was our first tour. We thought we are making plans. We had prepared like a little show, and we thought we introduce the project, and then we make a piece, and we have it okayed by the authorities, and then we can do a tour. And life is always different. So all the text we had prepared and the presentations, whatever happened, wherever we came, it was like, you're playing? Yes. How long do you need? Well, maybe 5 minutes. Okay, play. So we played. Oh, great. Can you do another show? Can you do another show? That day we did 4 shows in the hospital, and it was one of the highest Islamic holidays, so to say. It's a month of grief. It's called the Muharram. It's almost like Ramadan, but it's a little bit different. And so in that time, it's not allowed to sing, to wear colorful clothes, to laugh, to be happy, to share joy in the public. All this is not possible, and so we didn't know. It was very embarrassing in one way, but since the people saw how the humor worked, in that case in the hospital with the sick children, they said just more. So we play, and that was the tour. We played so many shows, and it was only meant to be, you know, to contact people and to introduce the project. And then the next year we went with the 4 clowns you saw in the second movie. And then I got to know Walter, the film director, and he wanted to accompany us the year after in 2014. Didn't get a journalist visa, didn't get one in 2015, got one in 2016, couldn't come because of having a disease. So finally, then in 2015, he filmed a German tour through Germany when all the refugees from Syria were coming. And so he said, I want to make a movie about Clowns Without Borders. And I said, do the German tour. And he agreed, and he did a wonderful movie called Happy Welcome in 2015. And for us, that was it. Okay, so you did your movie on Clowns Without Borders work. That was it. And then next time I was going to Iran, because by now I have been 7 times. I just informed him to let him know. And I called him in 2016 and I said, Walter, just to let you know, we'll be going to Iran again. And he says, I'm coming along. And I said, oh, really? Huh? Okay. And so he decided to come as the documentarist, because we always have a photographer. We never had one in Iran. That was always made by Iranian people. So he said, I'm coming with you as a photographer. And like always, we waited for the visa at the airport, and we fill out all the formulas very correctly. We introduce our work, and he was sitting there with the camera. And after 2 hours, the person came out with the visa and he said, "Oh, madam, you have been to Iran many times." And I said, "Yes, I haven't been for 2 years. I'm really low on Iran now." So he was laughing and he was giving me the passports with the visa and saying, "Here are your passports, take them and go." And I took them. I said, "Thank you very much." And we went. For me, I think this is always a very hard question, because I always love every single moment when you look into people's eyes and just together you go, there's the laughter and you just look into each other's eyes and you laugh together. Or I do something and it's very serious and they are laughing. But the moment we share this explosion, it's always my favorite one, no matter with who. And every moment is always so touching. But I guess one of the moments, it was when in one of the big refugee camps for Afghan people, it was the last one. It was huge, and it was coming and going, and people in and out, completely impossible to wait for silence. Which silence? Silence in this place does not exist. So we perform, and in the performance, I throw this loop, and I go into the public, and then at some moment I put this little hoop or loop, or how do you want to call it? I put it over somebody's head. It was an adult, a male adult, and this adult, he's one of the he has like some kind of special kind of autism. He's like a genius in numbers. He can count, you tell him how old you are and he can tell you how many times you have been breathing in your life up to now. So he's one of these geniuses, and he just completely, he was so energized by this moment when the loop was around his head, and just that energy and everything, he got so carried away, and he would run next to our car when we were leaving the camp. He was running next to our car for, I don't know, miles and miles. He was so fast, he would not stop, and it was heartbreaking. And we said, well, and he said, I can run to the US. I will never get tired. I can run for my whole life. And probably he would have been running. Maybe he's still running.
I know that at one point you and I talked about a scene in the movie where you're in a hospital and all the clowns are still in their coats. And I remember you telling me that, that's because you arrived and the nurses were so excited you didn't have time to change into your costumes. And I'm wondering if you could just share that experience and also what it's like to clown in costume or not in costume.
Like you said, like you described, we arrived and it was very cold. It was in Mashhad, which is in the north of Iran, and it was quite cold outside. And anyway, you have to have a manto, and over the manto you have a coat, and it was very cold, and the scarf, and we just entered, and like you said, they were so excited, and we just started playing. And I must say, it took very long time until I realized, we were not in costume. It was somebody in the cinema then told me, in this scene, you didn't wear a costume. I didn't realize until then, because for me, it doesn't make a difference, I guess. In my life, it doesn't make a difference if I wear the nose or if I don't. It's for me, this is always the same. So we just played. The only thing I noticed was it was extremely hot, because of course we come from outside, very cold, double coat, and inside it's pajama warm. for people who are not moving. So just sweating and sweating and sweating. That was what I realized. And yeah, I guess for me, there's no difference. But you all know, you ask 20 clowns what is for a definition or something, and you get at least 220 explanations and definitions. And for me, there's no difference.
Well, but then I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the main job of the clown? Or in your work with Clowns Without Borders, what have you found to be the heart or the kernel of the work? Or you can ignore my question and say something else.
No, I think what makes the difference is the permission you get when you wear the nose and the costume. The permission you get from other people because you are something different then. For me, permission is one of the big aspects of the clown, and especially for Clowns Without Borders. And it starts with the permission I give myself to be who I am now, in this very moment, and the permission I give to other people to be who they are now, and the permission I am given. So finally, the people give themselves the permission. This is one of the big aspects to me. And I think it's about the permission to be who you are, wherever you are, in whichever condition, and who you are and who you meet. And if I was in Iran, or when I am in Iran and I meet authorities, I give them permission to be who they are. And at the same time, I give myself the same permission. And I think that's one of the big, for me, this is one of the big things. Be who you are and let others be who they are. And then you meet. Wow, amazing.
Susie, one of the beautiful things in the trailer for the film, it talks about showing everyday life of the clown and also some of everyday life in Iran, which is, at least in the US, something we very rarely hear about. And so I'd love to hear to hear a little bit about that mission of the film, but then also that piece of the work and what it's like to learn about a place through what's funny and to learn about sort of a place through the arts and culture.
When I was touring with the director in one cinema, there was a young lady and she said, "Sir, what was your cinematographic concept for the movie?" And Walter was like, and I said, "Survive." Because he did not have a concept. The concept was I follow and I pick up whatever I can pick up, and I try not to disturb the filming, the rhythm of the clowns with my filming, and I try not to influence any of the people. But concept, he didn't have one. He was just gathering material and trusting the life, and the life delivered the concept. So with the fact that in the end, one of the main actors, one of the main clowns had to leave earlier to go back home for work. And Reza, our tour guide up to then, he had to substitute him, which he was able to because he had been following us for 2 weeks. He knew every part of the show and he knew us and he knew the situation. So that part basically made the plot for the movie. But Walter didn't know until his editor told him. That's the storyline, by the way. And so that's, you know, you surrender to life, to fate, to the moment, and when you truly do that, it will give you so many presents and so many gifts if you can listen and smell and accept the gift. That was the truth. um, um, and what was it in Iran? Well, in Iran, it's a little bit like this. It's an old, very old, high culture country. You know, it's Persian. It's very old culture, very deep, very developed. And the part that you do not speak about things directly, like German and Iranians, I always say, forgive me for being impolite, direct, and German, you know, because I am German. I ask direct questions and I love direct answers. This is very impolite. um, but with this not directness in the Persian Iranian culture now, it has even made the culture more wonderful, more beautiful, more developed, and so poetic in the optic, as well as in the sound, as well as in the pictures, in the architecture, in the fine. It's just very amazing. And so are the clowns. There are clowns, and they are they're amazing. They go like 25 people all together in the hospital. Wow, all at once. And every year when I'm there, I give them a workshop and try to support their way of playing. And in Iran, it's a little bit very often like this. If you ask a official question, it requires an official answer. And this is very difficult for anybody. I guess even for the highest people, it's difficult to give official answers and to take official responsibilities. But next to official, there's a lot of space, you know, it's not illegal, but there's a lot of space other than official. And Iranian people love to see you, look into your eyes and feel you and say, go. And this is one of the most wonderful moments. You trust, you go, and it will be good. It will be okay. And sometimes you need permissions, official permissions, and sometimes it's very hard to get an official permission. And sometimes you suddenly have it and you don't know how you got it. And it's better not to ask why and how you got it. You go. And we never do it illegal. And we always do it in the very correct German way. But very often you cannot know how it works. You just have to continue going respectfully and very careful or very mindful. And there's nothing else I can say. The clown's heart will show you the way. It does. I think the biggest challenge is the trust that because you cannot know the rules, because the rules change latest every 3 years. Like serious change, and you cannot know. And you cannot know how many mistakes you make. It's a huge choice of mistakes you can make in Iran. And developing this feeling of when you can go and when you have to wait. Because there are no written rules. There are no fixed rules. You always have to look, be honest, and do how rather be more careful and more polite and more take more care, and then you can only follow your heart. I think in Iran is the best advice to follow your heart and be very open and awake and feel when you go wrong. You will feel it, you see it. I think that's the biggest challenge, that there are never things you can rely on, rules or I think that's for me, this is the biggest challenge.
Susie, I have another question for you, which is, I know that in Iran you followed modesty laws and that impacted your costume, and I'm wondering to what extent that was just a costume choice, or how that impacted your movement, how you made the show, how you worked as a team.
You are not allowed to touch in public. That is on when men and women don't touch in public. If you go in the street, you don't touch, and so of course you don't touch on the stage. You don't show your hair, your ears, and your neck, and you don't show too much of your body shape. So acrobatics between men and women cannot take place. And also, like I said, you don't touch, and you have to know at what time you are. Like, for example, during Muharram is not good advice to go there. It's wrong. You don't go there then. So some details you have to keep in mind, and you have to ask your local contact. There is no way doing a Clowns Without Borders tour in Iran without a good local contact. It's not possible, I think. You just don't know how to do it. You don't know how to find the people. So the good local contact is very important. And probably we were more strict than we would have to be. Because in Iran, the women very little cover hair, ears, neck anymore now. I was there last in November, so many times the women would go without the shawl for quite a long time, sitting in the car very much without the shawl. And of course, this always gets shorter and more see-through. The manteau gets shorter and tighter, and also the trousers, and more and more skin that you see, or at least wearing socks, see-through socks. So I guess we as clowns were more strict than we would have had to be. Then it would have been necessary. And also the rules were much more loose now, but we were very strict. So we had lots of bonus for being so correct that we can do things wrong. But like I said, there's no acrobatics, there's no touching. And you have to be careful, women solo singing, because this could be taken as that you want to seduce, that a single woman singing could be interpreted as wanting to seduce men. Don't do that. But you don't have to. There's lots of fun things to do without acrobatics, and so on and so forth.
So did you face a strange or bad reaction from a patient in hospital when you play a clown, or no?
No, not really. Sometimes, for example, there's one hospital where we go to and we always perform there. We always perform there in a what is it? This is the room between the elevator and the actual station. So it's like in between. And there's coming and going, and there's the trash, and there's a bed, and there's people coming from the stairs and going the stairs. Oh, what's going on? And the cleaning personnel, and and so there's always lots of coming and going. But that's the way it is. So you deal with whatever is there. And we practiced this in Stockholm last when we had the clowns camp. We practice performing in very challenging atmospheres. For example, like in the hallway in between. Oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon.
Yeah.
You practice this. It's very good to practice to keep the
Right.
focus and the concentration, or to maybe make a stop or give focus to something else and then bring it back. Many times when we have been there, because there are not many foreigners in Iran, people are very afraid, have a certain picture. So nobody's going there and nobody's coming back to tell that it's different than what you think it is. So there's not many foreigners, not even on the airport. You really, people will tell you, will recognize you immediately. So they're waving at you and say, hello, welcome to Iran, welcome to Iran. And where do you come from? And Germany. Oh, have such a good time in Iran, and please tell your people we are not like our government. And then we said, please tell your people we are also not like our government. And this goes for a lot of places in the world. And it's a pity that the governments and the people are separated. You can tell it when there's the big gatherings, G20 and G7 and it's hilarious how much effort it takes soldiers, police, army to protect the governing people from the people. It should be the other way around. But still, I think we must have pity with the governing people, and still we also have to take responsibility for our lives and our governments, and remind us. For me, the clown is the most human being, and that we keep this in mind. Governing people are also human beings, and we can always meet them on the human beings base. And if we are human beings, the real true who we are, then we don't need to protect each other from each other. And this is one of my biggest heart desires, that human beings can meet human beings no matter what they do and where they are and who they are. And in the clown, it's always possible, because the clown meets the human being. That's it. The Iranians always said, these Germans, they're very serious about this humor thing.
And on that, the Germans, they're very serious about this laughter thing. Thank you, Susie, for taking the time, for staying up late. Thank you to everyone across all of these time zones, and I hope you are all staying well, finding ways to take care of yourself, to have your clown and your human meet and explore, finding moments of laughter for yourself. This was a pleasure to spend this hour with you.